Hi, it's Cassandra and I'm here making a video for my autumn wrap-up series for my self-care blog at The Art Journalist. And this part of the series is called Gather: 3 Ways to Lessen Your Stress This Season. This is a little bit late of a video because life happens. Life gets in our way, presents obstacles, all of those things. So that's what happened to me, and I'm not going to go into all of my family details, but I am going to share with you how I cope, and why I make these videos at all is to help you guys out with your own stress, because I find I'm always the one who's calming everyone down and soothing everyone in my life and saying, you know, you don't have to worry about this. It's just something I have a knack for. I'm actually really good at this thing called self-care. It's not that I'm selfish, it's just that I'm very interested in the results after you work on yourself and you put time into taking care of yourself, and putting these things into place makes your life easier. It gives you joy and simplicity. I'm going to share the 3 techniques with you now. Okay, so the first one that you should really focus on is the idea of cope. Coping is also a way of caring. So coping well, I should say, means that you turn things around, you don't freak out, and you go into a caring mode. A lot of self-care means that you become a caring person. So once you're taken care of, then you can better take care of other people. My parents always used to say, Cassie's got to take care of Cassie, and you've got to care for yourself, right? No one else in the world is going to do that for you. And these are the coping mechanisms. So natural art therapy, cope. Okay, so we're going to keep the word cope in our mind when we think about this. As you're doing this, as you're going out and you're gathering, this season I gathered a bunch of these little mini pumpkins, and then I also gathered a bunch of these pine cones. And an okay place to find pine cones and gather them is in a parking lot. So often a parking lot will border some pine trees, coniferous trees, and all of the pine cones will be falling onto the parking lot, and people will just be heartlessly driving over these pine cones. So what I like to do is note when this is happening, and I just salvage the ones that otherwise would have been trampled or driven over and gotten flattened. Okay, so I don't recommend taking tons of them. You only need a couple to add to your little centerpieces, and on the blog we're showing how we made some of those. And this is where I had taken some of these amazing pumpkins, and guess how much these cost me from a local farm that I usually stop by at on my way to my mom's house for Thanksgiving. I got these for $4, and I got another amazing pumpkin and another amazing pumpkin. So many amazing things. So let's move on to harvest. Okay, so as we're thinking about our natural art therapy, we're mindfully saying, I'm going to gather these things. These are no glue, no paint, there's no fuss, no muss, just simple, right? And putting them on a cake stand. And actually at Thanksgiving we had 3 of these on a very long table for our entire family, and the kids got to place all of the natural things onto the cake stands to make the centerpieces. So that is a wonderful way to lessen that stress and cope bringing people in to help you and making things easy, something I know my children would do, and getting other people to help. So this year, my daughter and I actually went ahead earlier for Thanksgiving and helped my mom. So she did the turkey with my dad, and my daughter and I learned how to do that as well. So we jumped in and lessened her stress by doing that. And we're going to do that again for Christmas time to make it easier for her, and do some of the decorating as we did at Thanksgiving too, because that just brought the whole stress level for my mom down. And the pressure wasn't only on her. And we got to be involved. We didn't just show up with a pumpkin pie saying, okay, let's eat now. So coping can involve a little bit of delegating and communication, where we ask people to get involved and help us and share. So I'm not just keeping this all to myself in my mind. I'm teaching my daughter and my son how to use these natural things around us. And it's amazing how having these natural elements around you lessens your stress, because you're connecting with nature. So a lot of us don't have time to always get out there and do things like trail running and mountain climbing. I would love to have time to do all of that, but busy life of mom, I am going to go out and gather some of these things and bring it to something like Thanksgiving to share with other people. So harvesting means connecting with nature. So that connection with nature is a wonderful feeling that nature has given us something. And that's the gratitude part of it, where we're saying thank you to the earth for creating these things. It's so fascinating to even look at these things and think that the earth has yielded these things and created these things, and just to look at them is interesting versus maybe something that's unnatural, like a plastic or whatever. Plastic is the bad word these days, right? Okay, so process, moving on, means carving out time for creative pause moments. And that does mean by yourself. So after something like Thanksgiving, I like to just zone out and not be around people. Sometimes when we're around lots of people and we're sensitive to energy and we care about these things, we get overloaded, and we need time to clear our sensor and just be alone and carve out time to have creative moments. So that's why I gather these things and have them on hand. Then it's easy for me to make things and complete things like carving the pumpkin. So we got the Halloween pumpkin all at the same time, all from the same place. So thinking ahead to Christmas now, you might want to be gathering some of these things, gathering a planted tree for Christmas that you can plant later as a shrub, because deforestation is one of the biggest things that we're looking at when we look at eco-friendly things in the future. So it just makes sense that you would do that. So being creative can also mean thinking like an eco-activist. It can mean thinking like a designer. It can mean thinking like a smart, intelligent person. So taking care of yourself can also filter out to taking care of the environment, because everything, as you know, goes together. So getting one of those shrubs for Christmas, it's just a really smart idea. Autumn is a great idea to snag these shrubs and have them ready, maybe at the side of your house or in your backyard, and then bring them out and you can decorate them and then later plant them next spring. The more alive things that we have breathing, especially trees and shrubs that will grow into trees, the better. So those are just some small ideas. Sometimes we get stressed about the environment. I was actually a little stressed because my daughter had an environmental project to do called Geography in the News, and she had to summarize 12 articles on the environmental problems. So I had to go through that with her, where she had to actually print out the articles and then summarize them. So after reading all of the facts about the environment, it is a good refresher to think about eliminating some of the plastics. Only 9% of plastics are recycled. That's pretty sad. That comes from Canadian Geographic, that stat. That's pretty depressing, right? Okay, so thinking of these natural ways, this is the opposite. This is the instead. So we could think about that stat, we could focus on that and get stressed and frustrated and saddened by that, and also that feeling that you can't do anything yourself. Like, well, there's nothing I can do. Well, here is something that you can do that replaces some of the plastics in your life. And I'm not saying to get rid of plastics completely, because obviously we need them for something. It's just the pointless, silly things that we don't need to use them for. So I actually found some Christmas bulbs that were really large in plastic, and I wanted to put them outside in the front on some of the greenery, the evergreens outside, and I said no. So already I'm switching my buying patterns because I don't agree with all of the plastic. The only way we can stop or minimize plastic is by mindfully saying, when do I really need the plastic? What do I actually need it for? And I don't want to bring this whole gathering thing, this idea of gathering, because this autumn was such a happy autumn for me. So I don't want to bring a downer feeling about the plastic into the video, but it is something to be concerned about, especially when we're holiday decorating and gathering. Don't be so happy if you're necessarily getting more plastic. Maybe try to avoid the plastic and go for natural. This is so simple, and I will show you guys, of course, on the blog how to make some natural centerpieces and decorations just with pine cones. And a part of me wants to tell you more and more about that, but I'm not going to. So going back to gather now, mindfully gathering these things in an eco way is important. All of this, when you add it together, the coping well, the harvesting well, the processing well, when you do all of these mindfully and are generating positivity, then you can create a peaceful home, a peaceful life, and a peaceful existence. This is what I want for you in these self-care videos, for you to realize that these things support you, that they support a better life, and that we have to do them. We can only become a better humanity if we work on all of these things. And these are just 3 little simple skills for self-care. There are so many more techniques and things to learn about on my website, theartjournalist.com. And at theartjournalist.com, what we're doing is talking about becoming better at life. So the art of life, the art of better life skills, that kind of idea. That's what the art journalist means. And we're journaling them, we're writing them down, we're thinking about them, and we're being mindful of all 3 of these particular things here. But we're also being mindful about creating a self-care practice that fuels us from inside. And that's what makes that little sparkle in my eye when I'm smiling. Look at this. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. There it is. Okay, so that little ding, that little sparkle that goes out into the world. How do I get that? How do I stay content? How do I steer that ship and stay on course? It's a lot of inner strength. It's a lot of centering, and it's a lot of putting these things into place and leading a really good life, the life that I desire. And that means a life on my terms, but also a life at a high standard, a life where these value-based techniques are important. You're not going to find this information anywhere else where someone is so stubborn about this stuff. So I'm going to leave you with that idea of creating your own self-care practice, number one, and to get started this way.